Hi there, this is Dr. Nourasham Bashir Niyam. In today's segment, we are going to continue discussing the American history. And it's so important for us because the coming 2020 election is so important internationally. So I decided to give some information to my fellow immigrants and my fellow people who has no time to go to the library to get those informations, or those who never have history classes in the American history. And it's so important for me that when they go to the election, everybody making their their choices consciously by knowing who these two parties and how they have been forged and what's their history behind them. So therefore, I just decided to go through these small history lessons, and hopefully that it benefit everybody. Last time we stand on Boston Tea Party, when Boston people refused to pay the King of England anything, and they dumped their tea into the sea. And now the king, got furious, and he prepared his militias and he sent it to Boston and orders them to just destroy any rebellion over there and destroy any militia over there and make them, obedient to the king again. The people, the other colonies, they are not in delusion. They know that the king is not going to leave them alone. So they prepare themselves and they are ready, waiting for the king to come with the help of France and Spain, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that's exactly, and they prepare themselves and they came and they fought and they win. When they win under the leadership of George Washington, they win the war, and now they came to the biggest question that facing them. Now what? Especially after the war, they release all the militia because they have fear that strong leader with the militia, it might bring dictator. So now they just found themselves that they have one Congress. At that time, there is no three branches, it's only one branch, which is the Congress. And this is the Confederate Congress, one Congress only. So they said, now what? What are we going to do? How are we going to, since we declare our independence, we went through war, and by the way, the Declaration of Independence was in 1776, have been written by Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and James Jefferson, I think. Thomas Jefferson. So we see that in New York. Yeah, in New York, the city that I love. Okay, so now they said, well, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do this? While they are discussing, this, there is two ideas emerge. One idea is saying, let us give more power to the center. Let us forge a central government that will control everybody, and less power to the states. And those known as federalists. And the most famous one, or the most well-known of the federalists is Hamilton. And then the other group is saying, no, the opposite, the other way around. Let us give more power to the states and less power to the central government. And those are the Confederalists, and one of the most famous one is Thomas Jefferson. And as we know that Hamilton has been, the Secretary of the Treasury, and Jefferson was Secretary of State. They always, in fight. But at the end of the day, I don't mean literal fight, but at the end of the day, these two ideas emerge from the ideas of how we can govern ourselves by ourselves, away from the monarchy, and we can be independent, and we can be the best government ever. While they are disputing this and arguing this, there is another convention happened there in the East Coast, among Virginia, Maryland, Philadelphia, and so on, known as the Albanian Convention. There is a trade dispute between these states. They sat down, they discussed their differences, and they came to conclusions, and they solved the problem peacefully. The rest of the colonies, they said, hey, why we don't take the lesson from these people? Let us sit down together, also us, and solve our problem peacefully. And let us see if we can figure out one government that satisfies everybody, that can have a document that we can all rely on, that we can have our own constitution, that we can depend on for generations to come. And as they agreed, they went to Philadelphia, and they, in the 27th of May and until 17th of September, they sat down, 13 states, 14 presidents, and they sat down, they brought their papers, Federalist or Confederalist, and they sat down and they discussed together how they can forge one government that satisfies everybody. And from there, the Constitution of the United States was born. It has 85 articles. Hamilton alone wrote 51 of it, and Madison wrote 29 of it, and then John Jay wrote 5 of it. And as we know, Hamilton is Federalist, while Madison is Confederalist, and John Jay is just between them. And in 6 months, continuous work, and just focusing on how they can create that government that satisfy everybody, they came to conclusion, and they brought that constitution, which is wrote by John Madison in 1788. There, the new baby born, that baby grow and is still governing everybody 232 years after that meeting. See you later in another lesson.